those are the two major things when it comes to imposter syndrome as an apprentice. How can you be an imposter if the whole role of an apprentice is to observe and learn long term in, you know, on a 6-year journey?
Hi everyone, and welcome to Apprenticeish, where we talk all about apprentices, apprenticeships, kind of.
My name's Josephine.
And my name's Alika.
And we are your hosts of the Apprenticeish podcast. It's been a while.
It has.
Yeah, welcome back, guys.
Welcome back.
Yeah. So how are you?
I am, well, my throat is dry. SQE is doing so many things. But, you know, we just take one thing at a time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm managing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're staying afloat.
Yes.
I mean, sometimes that's all you can do.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm drowning at all. I just think that there's a lot.
A lot going on. Okay. So you're just aware. Fair.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like, is this the first time we've gone straight from work to record?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's feeling like a very packed day. Like it's feeling like being very productive, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
You
it's not a bad thing. Yeah, no,
okay,
I know. As in like double time. Like
yeah.
you do a full day and then you come and record a session. Like,
yeah.
But anyway.
What's rest?
We are...
Mind my business.
We are doing this episode on overcoming imposter syndrome as an apprentice. Imposter syndrome is a very hot topic, and we're going to go through what it is, how it crops up in an apprenticeship, and how to handle it. And also, we just want to open the discussion, so please comment and give us your thoughts as well. It's an open discussion. So I might just take the lead and give us a definition of imposter syndrome. Okay, read this out. Imposter syndrome. People who struggle with imposter syndrome believe that they are undeserving of their achievements and the high esteem in which they are, in fact, generally held. They feel that they aren't as competent or intelligent as others might think, and that soon enough, people will discover the truth about them. Those with imposter syndrome, which is not an official diagnosis, are often well accomplished. They may hold high office or have numerous academic degrees. So like high IQ, high achieving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere that actually it tends to impact women, particularly Black women, a lot more.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never heard this.
Yeah, but like almost every website I had a gander at was saying the exact same thing.
Do you think the link is lack of representation?
Probably.
Yeah, that's the most obvious thing I can think of, but that would be really interesting to read into. Yeah, for sure.
I can put all the links somewhere, but yeah, there's a lot to read around this topic.
Wow.
Yeah. So imposter syndrome can be broken down into so many different things, but it's really good to like break things down, make sure we're all on the same page, especially because obviously people are starting their apprenticeships at the time that this will be released, or like in their early stages. Maybe you've moved to a new department, or I don't know, you're just in transition into something else. So it can be broken down into a few different things. It could be self-doubt. It could be undeservedness. It could be possibility of exposure.
Of being exposed, as a fraud.
Couldn't understand. Sorry, my brain is at work. I'm asbestos exposure.
Oh, really?
And contracting it.
That's how deep you're in PI.
My brain is like at work. And possibility of exposure. So, as you literally just said.
Yeah.
Being found out. I've heard like quite a few people, well, let me not say quite a few people. There was a YouTube video that I was watching, and this judge came, and I felt like she was quite majestic. But she was using like this kind of language, saying that I feel like at some point somebody's going to find me out, but nobody has so far, key. And in my brain, I was just like, I've actually heard quite a few, I've never heard a man use that kind of language, though of course I'm sure like some men do. Maybe they just don't vocalize it as much. But across my career journey into law, interacting with different people, networking events, work experience, whatever, it's this whole idea of, in some way, shape or form, I feel like I shouldn't be here, or I don't deserve to be here, or in an effort to balance out my inherent fear, I need to behave in a particular way. So yeah, have you ever felt like you've been an imposter?
Yes.
Okay. Talk to us.
I just feel like any new space, there is an element of imposter syndrome. Like I'm very fortunate to have this sort of confidence of, it's a good thing to be the least experienced person in the room. That means you have the most to learn. Like that sort of growth mindset of, there's value here, like dive in sort of thing. But it is balanced with imposter syndrome, especially when you're put into a position where you're expected to know things. So in this apprenticeship, within the context of our work, we've made this transition from fly on the wall, take the notes, do the post, all of that, to you didn't know, but you know what I mean, like basic tasks, to now you're calling clients and giving legal advice. They're asking you about next steps. Like you have no idea what direction the conversation is going to go in until you get on the phone with them. And it's good to have tricks up your sleeve, like, oh, that's a really good question, I'm going to raise that with the senior lawyers in the team and get back to you. Like it's always good to do that, but you're on the phone with clients, and you need to have something to say, you need to have something about you. So I feel imposter syndrome creep up in those areas. And then also in areas where like there's a massive gap between me and the people at this table. Like they're all partners. They're all partners, or they're all like experts in their field. And they're talking about some really high-end complex stuff. And if someone's like, Josephine, what are your thoughts? My heart will just sink.
What are your thoughts?
I'll be like, I agree with everything that you said.
Why is that? Tell us more.
It just sounded so reasonable and well thought out.
That's wild.
Yeah. You just have to blag it. What can I do? That's actually happened to me in this apprenticeship. But I feel like it was done as a joke. And that sounds mean. It wasn't like a prank, but it was like what do you think, Joe? And then whatever I say was going to make them laugh, and they'd be like, oh, like that's cute, or that's funny.
Because obviously
exactly. I was grown enough to take the joke on the chin, but it's happened.
It is well.
How about you?
I think with myself, I've never really felt like, I felt the fear, but I think the second part of that was, the feeling of being a fraud, or like someone's gonna find me out. I think that's the bit that I personally don't
relate to.
Like I don't feel I don't feel like someone's gonna be like, oh, Alika, by the way, we found out that you are actually not qualified enough for this. I think because I've failed at so many different things and like have overcome. I'm just like, nobody can come and tell me that I'm a fraud. Or like, boo, by the way, get out. Like, are you crazy? I will argue with
honestly.
And
that's really powerful, because honestly, like, I don't want to get ahead in this like episode. We should take everything in turn, but those are the two major things when it comes to imposter syndrome as an apprentice. Have you not befriended failure, but have you experienced failure enough that you're no longer scared of it? You now turn them into lessons, or you find them valuable, and you take what you can from it. And number two, you're an apprentice. So this is, how can you be an imposter if the whole role of an apprentice is to observe and learn long term in on a 6-year journey or 6.5 or 7-year journey to becoming becoming a qualified person. Do you know what I mean? So I just feel like that's why an episode like this, where we discuss it, is going to be so valuable, because some of the things that we're creating in our head to cause imposter syndrome are actually just like just enemies of the mind, like they're self-imposed.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's all a mindset thing.
Yeah, you can speak about it.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting you say that, because there's a lot, like the whole foundation of imposter syndrome is fear.
Yeah.
So when you're sitting down thinking about like, how did I get here, or why do I have those feelings of anxiety and stress and all that kind of stuff, it's usually down to three things. I can't remember what the third one is, I can't lie, but one of them obviously being childhood, second one being environment, like the example that you gave, this was a new situation for you, this is the environment is cultivated to set up that kind of joke, but there are other companies where that isn't a joke. And they actually want you
and
to
the
be
shame,
dragged. And shamed and embarrassed. For what? We don't know. Their own ego, their own malicious purposes. But it's not always. I think with imposter syndrome, it's important to remember, yes, it is like internal, but also there are very strong external influencing factors that can cause that in you that really didn't need to be there.
True. True. I feel like it starts internally. I feel like the environment can put that on you, but then the second part to that is how are you going to react, or how are you going to internalize it, and how are you going to feel.
Exactly.
And fear is the perfect word for it. I do feel like imposter syndrome is self-sabotage. Everybody has a different name for it. Like, you're listening to your inner critic or your inner saboteur, or maybe there's somebody that actually speaks, that into your life, and you've now, in their absence, made that person's voice your identity or your coach, or your disciplinarian, and it's wrong. It's very wrong. It's harmful, so harmful. And you just need to it's so far removed from reality. That's something, like all that's going on, the roller coasters and the chaos that's going on inside is not happening outside at all. Because it's like, we're all here to learn, and nobody's expected to come up with an answer straight away. Like, you are allowed as a human being time to think about things, time to process things. But we'll get into that. We'll get into that.
I just like one more point on that is that's the thing about fear. Fear is not actually real. It's anxiety over something that hasn't actually happened yet. And fear is so deceptive as well. I wrote an article about this because I failed when I went to law school the first time round, like as an 18, 19-year-old, failed everything that there was to fail repeatedly. And I wrote an article about it online, and one of the lessons was basically like fear, like, I can't remember how I worded it, but fear invites like failure. Like, you think fear of failure will keep it away, but it actually attracts it, because fear can stop you from doing what you were supposed to do, and it can make you procrastinate, or it can make you leave it to the last minute, or it can make you avoid it. And then failure is even closer to you than it was initially. Exactly.
So it's so deceptive. It's something definitely to be like defeated, and like, again, change your mindset.
Exactly. And I think it can be hard to do that, especially when it is like, fear is very much ingrained in popular culture. And confidence is attractive because it's rare in real life. Like, we're not talking about the TikTok people or the Instagram girlies, or, the people on LinkedIn very excited to share the fact that, I don't know, they've like gotten their 10th promotion in the year. It's in real life, the way imposter syndrome sounds like, I think, is the fake it till you make it mentality. This whole idea that like, you're kind of pretending until you get confident. But for some people, they never get there. It's like, it's always you're wearing a mask. There's never a real confidence that is being built up behind that. It's actually just more fear, because the higher you rise, the more advanced we get in our apprenticeship, the more clients are relying on us, the more like your imposter syndrome can really take over.
But I feel like this is going to sound a bit controversial.
I mean, we can argue.
No, it's not even a back and forth with you, because I believe that I I think that with imposter syndrome, there is a certain element of ego.
Okay, talk to me.
You are in this place, right? You're not in an you're at the level that you're at. You've got the job that you've got. You're not in some alternate reality. You can visualize, and if you don't, please journal and keep records. But you can visualize the steps that you took and the applications that you wrote to get to this place. So the whole I feel like I'm going to be found out as a fraud. Like, what are you trying to present that you haven't? How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as Barack Obama and you think, oh my gosh, these people are going to find out I'm not Barack Obama? Like, do you know what I mean?
Sounds like they're delusional.
I'm just saying, like, what is your sense of self for you to now be like, it's not real, they're going to find out I'm a fraud? Because the fact that you're saying, forget about they're going to find out, the fact that you're calling yourself a fraud is a lie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like sometimes humility can also, courage to counter fear, but also humility is something that can counter imposter syndrome as well. Because it's like, well, if you see yourself as you are, then nobody can take that from you.
Yeah.
But if you see yourself as on this pedestal, then of course you're going to be always looking over your shoulder, trying to not be exposed. Do you know what I mean? So, is it? Oh, thank you.
Felt like a sermon.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so I think as an apprentice, what it tends to look like.
Yeah.
If you've like just joined a new team, new department, new responsibilities, whatever, maybe you're in a space where you can't even say anything in team meetings. Maybe you've recently joined. You don't think what you have to say is worthy enough to be communicated.
Yeah.
When actually you really could just solve a problem. I used to do, there was some meetings in my earlier days where they would raise an issue in the team meeting, and in my brain I'm just like, this is very simple to resolve.
Yeah.
But it's simple to me.
Yeah.
It's not like everyone has a different perception. They don't see things the way you do.
Yeah.
So just speak up.
100%. Like, speak up 100%. I feel like I don't even want to take it into like the context of generational knowledge and what we all bring to the team as Gen Z and Gen X and all of that.
Yeah.
But one of the purposes behind degree apprenticeships was to bring that sort of zest and energy and youth into a team, and to bring this new energy that is good for innovation, is good for businesses. Like businesses are always promoting the use of degree apprenticeships and bringing younger people in. Yeah. So that's one of the, many benefits of degree apprenticeships that we've covered in previous episodes. Yeah. So something like, I remember like being in a room where we had to be in a meeting room and we had to do lots of things on our laptops, and we didn't have the benefit of being at our desks and hooking it up to the 2 monitors, and you know what I mean? So I just split my screen. That's 2 keys on my laptop. Once I did that, everybody was like, whoa, like, how did you do that? Can you do that on my laptop? And I'm like, why do it on your laptop when I can just tell you or show you, tap this key, and you're thinking, well, that's basic, that was 2 seconds long. But actually, you've added value to the team. You've made the team more efficient. You've made them more time efficient. You've made them more tech savvy. If you have more stuff like that under your sleeve, that could be your bag, and that could be what people rely on you for. So it's really about knowing your worth and not thinking that the things that you do should be shrunken, and the things that the other people in your team that are like the things that they're doing because they're more senior should be maximized, because that will also contribute to imposter syndrome. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, honestly, seniority, or noticing and appreciating or focusing on the gap of knowledge between you and the people in your team, if you focus on that, that can like cause imposter syndrome, in the sense that there's no reason for me to contribute again because everybody else in this room knows more than I do.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, I think another way that imposter syndrome can come up is spending way too long on tasks. Yeah.
Guilty.
Yeah.
Guilty.
Way too long on tasks. Staying late to get things done.
Oh, I feel exposed.
But this is something that apprentices do a lot anyway. Obviously, let's be real, there's a time and a place. It's law. For us, it's law.
Yeah.
There are going to be deadlines, court deadlines, things that are just not movable.
Yeah.
But when you've been given this task, it's your first week. Why are you back until 7 p.m. every day?
Yeah.
That task is not even that deep.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing because obviously we have advanced so much in the program. Looking back on year one, like, it was really not necessary.
Yeah. I mean, imposter syndrome is imposter syndrome and perfectionism are cousins.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Quite.
So that's literally what it is. And I feel like, I mean, in terms of that specific example, ask your supervisor, how long would it take to, obviously if this is your first time doing the task, it should take as long as it takes.
Yeah.
But after that, if you need a little, because I need that, and many people do, if you need a little sort of marker on how long the task is going to take or how long it should take, just ask, because it's a very useful question actually, because you're not going to be working in the anxiety of I'm taking too long on this, but you're also going to feel confident when you give it over that your supervisor doesn't feel like you rushed it. Do you know what I mean? So just asking, and how long does that usually take, or how long do you expect that to take, just so I don't overwork on it, or whatever, however you speak, that's useful. But yeah, I know that we're talking about superheroism and trying to do the most after 5 p.m.
Not necessary.
It's not necessary. Until it is.
Until though.
Until
to get to that point.
Yeah. There are there are times in your career, and it's even in job descriptions, to be expected to work 9 to 5 and in necessary circumstances to meet business needs a bit more. Yeah. But not a habit, not every day or every week.
Set yourself new working hours that nobody agreed to. Yeah, except you.
And it's not your father's company. At the end of the day, it's not your family company.
I'm not mad.
It's not mine. It's just Nigerian. It's not your father's company. So, behave yourself, please. Log off on time. I'm saying that to myself as well as you. I need to learn how to do that a bit more.
Yeah. Imposter syndrome can take loads of different forms, and one of the forms that it can take, one of the ways it can take form. Okay, one of the ways it could take form is through cycles of behavior. So these are things that people who deal with imposter syndrome can relate to, or believe that happens to them on a regular basis. So that's what when we talk about cycle. It could have been for you guys, it could have been at a previous workplace, it could have been even at school, how your approach is to education, and also how you interact with your community and the people around you. So one of the ways that is quite common is leaving things to the very last minute. The nth hour, you are out here typing your essay out at 11:59. And fine, you submit it, you get a really good grade back, and you put that down to luck, or just by chance, I just happened to, get this really good grade. Can you imagine? I would never do it again. You do it again, and
the cycle continues.
Consistently getting good grades, but you're putting it down to, wow, this is just how I work. I'm lucky that way. And call it like that. The second way that it appears is because there's a lack of self-belief, you overextend yourself in order to complete the objective in a way that makes you feel confident in your ability. So, for example, your supervisor could come to you and say, hey, I need you to, look at these records, put them in order, call it a day. you not only complete that task in record timing, might I add, you're doing an index, you've created hyperlinks for every section in the medical records. You separated it out based on, you know, the experts that need access to the index. So you're overextending yourself. Maybe it's the first time you've done this task, but you're overextending yourself. And by doing that extra behavior, you feel confident enough to submit that work because you feel like fulfilling the task in itself isn't good enough for you. Does that make sense?
You have to overdo it.
You have to overdo it for you to feel confident enough to submit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the
wow.
extra work.
That's all I have to say. That's all I have to say because that is just... I'm not going to say that word. Okay. That is hard labor. Yeah. That is hard labor.
So the extra work is done to fulfill your ego, not the requirement.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God. No.
So those are good examples of, as you just mentioned, superheroism, perfectionism, that kind of thing.
Doing the most.
Doing the most.
Absolute most.
Like, it's not necessary.
Yeah.
But taking on, like, way too many tasks.
Yeah.
Another example. You don't have capacity, but now you will willingly break your back.
Yeah.
Because you feel like you should say yes to everything.
Both of those two cycles of behavior that you just set out, both of them lead to burnout.
Yeah.
Like the first one I related with because I was quite cocky in when I was in education. So primary, secondary and a bit of sixth form, lastminute.com. And I was like, I need the adrenaline. Like, I need something to motivate me. Now that I'm talking about this is all probably like ADHD stuff. But at the end of the day, it only lasted to a certain point.
Yeah.
You know, unless you're Einstein, at a certain point between learning your spellings in year one and the end of your apprenticeship, it's gonna switch on you, and you can't be doing things last minute because the work is too complex and it's too high and it's too difficult for you to be doing it the night before. So yeah, that is not gonna work. It's either you change it or you get yanked out of that cycle in a really difficult way, in a way that you probably wouldn't like. And the second one, yeah, that's just toxic. That's very toxic. Yeah. I don't even know how to advise somebody on that.
Hi. So I used to do that.
maybe I did, and I'm just not thinking about it like deeply enough. But that's intense.
Yeah, it is intense.
Like it's worrying. Like,
yeah, I mean,
do you know what I mean?
People defo get hospitalized by trying to carry that out. But I think it's as an apprentice, like it's really easy for it to start off small. Like your supervisors ask you to do this, you've done, one extra thing. They are really impressed. Or they communicate that they're really impressed. That is feeding this whole I need to do more behavior.
Yeah, but isn't that an over-reliance on external validation?
I mean, isn't that the whole thing with
true. No, because it's just like, I don't know, compromise, innit? Like let's take your example of building a bundle.
Yeah.
You've built the bundle now. Why don't you send that bundle over and say, would you like me to do an index?
Nobody asked.
Yeah, would you like me to do an index? Would you like me to hyperlink them? Would you like da-da-da-da? And if you get yes, then that's a new task with a new timeline, a new time scale and deadline. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather than doing X, Y. Because at the end of the day, as an apprentice, you're not going to have the bird's eye view. You're not going to have the bigger picture of what it's for.
Yeah.
So if this bundle is something that your supervisor is like, oh, we may or may not need it, so I'm just going to ask this apprentice to make a rough copy because it's something that we might just throw away next week if this changes. Do you know what I mean? And you've put your blood and sweat and tears and your soul into this bundle. When they dash it, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? You're actually going to cry, or well, I would cry. I would be, you know what I mean? Like, you've thrown my baby out.
Yeah. I think this is the whole thing though. Like, you're there. If you're already in the mindset of everyone else is better than me, everyone else is more experienced than me. The experience part is true. Like, you're likely going in with like no experience, very little relevant experience, or some experience that's transferable. People who have worked there longer than you have will know the way the company works, their processes, their procedures. But when your perspective is, I am less than because everybody else is at a level that I'm not at, you have to figure out a new way to prove yourself.
Right.
This is the psychology of someone who is dealing with this. I need to do something to like level the playing field in terms of how I'm being perceived, because everybody else is at one way and I'm not there yet.
Everybody else is qualified and you're an apprentice.
Well, some people are qualified, some people are paralegals, some people in other companies, team assistants, and like even there, this is how it starts. Some of the other ways it could show up is usually through fear of success or fear of failure. Obviously, one being I'm scared to like fail, so I'm gonna overdo it. The other side being I know that I'm gonna succeed, but I'm scared of like taking on all this responsibility when I already don't feel confident that I can do the current responsibility that I'm doing now. And then giving yourself credit where credit is due.
I'm guilty of that. Very much so.
Do you want to talk to us about that, Josephine?
Okay. I'm guilty of not giving myself credit where credit is due. I think it's something that the people in my team, my skills coach, my family members, they're constantly reminding me, like, you are successful. Because I'm like, I'm always looking at the next thing. So I'm always looking at, when's this law degree going to be over? When am I going to finish my postgrad? When am I going to do my master's? When am I going to qualify? And it's always what's next. And then the danger of that is when you've achieved something, you skip past it. You don't even give yourself credit. You don't celebrate it. It's just like, it's like a to-do list, and you've crossed the line for it and you're moving on to the next one. And it's not a good way to live, because you think, it's going to keep you humble. But actually, again, you're removing yourself from the reality of what is. Maybe I do have imposter syndrome.
I mean, imposter syndrome is like multifaceted. These are just some behaviors that people who deal with that strongly relate to or regularly relate to. And now we're going to talk about something more exciting. How to overcome it.
Oh, yay! I feel like we've low-key been putting that in here and there. But, the good parts. The good part of this episode. So, in terms of overcoming imposter syndrome, the way that we're going to approach it is externally and externally. So I'll take external, which is harder to change. It's harder to overcome when external factors are imposing imposter syndrome onto you. But the two situations that stick out to me is representation. So what does your workplace look like? Because everybody in 2024 likes to say, we're diverse, we're inclusive. But what does it look like in terms of the power structure? So where you've got the most successful and the highest paid people at the top of this power structure in a company or a business, and the levels, the managers, the supervisors, the junior staff, the people that assist and help and clean and help with admin and do this and do that. When you're looking at the power structure, is the diversity all at the bottom and not at the top? Because it would discourage you from making your way to the top, fighting for your seat at the table, and you're the only one there, and everybody else, they all look a type of way, they all think a type of way, they're all from a certain section of society. Lack of representation can really do a number on you. Everybody's different. I don't think it's ever stopped me from entering a room, 1,000%. But I'm definitely aware that I'm the only one.
100%.
Yeah.
Huh? Hard not to.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they're talking about something that, it's just not my culture. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. You know, if you have the gift of the gab, you can kind of flip it, or you can make it a funny thing, like the fact that this is a difference. But obviously, it's just mentally, it is widening the divide and the gap between I fought so hard to get here, and now that I'm here, look at me, I'm here, and you guys are over here. Do you know what I mean? So that's one thing. How would we overcome that?
I think that's the way that is overcome is by management powers in the company. Like, that's not the apprentice's responsibility to change the culture of the workplace. Yeah. It's up to people who have the authority to change things, to do something about that. Hiring, firing, and also creating an environment where people want to actually stay and progress, like we discussed in the episode 3. And
then I guess, speaking about individual management styles, another external factor which is annoying as hell is supervisors who encourage a competition culture within the team. Because if you're not their favorite, and if you're not the one that's getting the promotions and the opportunities and the new work and the juicy stuff, you will start to feel imposter syndrome. You will start to think, do I belong here? Because, you know, you're not being rewarded, you're not being treated fairly. And we have covered competition culture in previous episodes, which I encourage you to watch. But to be honest with you, the simple way to address that is to detach. Okay, you're working in a team where they run and operate on competition culture. That doesn't mean you need to run and operate on competition culture. Any time you are sort of put in there, I think finding your way out is your best way of surviving imposter syndrome, and also any sort of harm that you could experience in a team that runs on like toxic practices like that. So it could be as simple as, you know, you're an apprentice and you're assigned a supervisor. If you foster and invest in your one-to-one relationship with that person, not because you're trying to be a favorite, not because you need validation, or you're trying to, you know, create some sort of close relationship. It's just, we have a job to do. I have milestones to reach. You're supposed to take me through it, and I'm supposed to create evidence working for you to prove to my assessor and to my learning provider that I'm hitting and ticking these boxes. So if you take that sort of pragmatic approach, that this is work, this is business, this is an apprenticeship, and you're taking ownership of that and being proactive, then everything else sorts of falls away, because you're not thinking, oh, that comment was a bit like just ricochet, like in one ear out the other. It's very, very hard to do. It's a skill. It's like a muscle that needs to be flexed. Like, you need to constantly do it over and over again before you become really good at it. But yeah, remove yourself from competition culture.
Dangerous stuff, competition culture.
Very, very. And we feel very strongly about it.
Trey. So I think we'll bounce off of each other when it comes to talking about the internal ways of like overcoming imposter syndrome. We've spoken a lot about changing self-perception, mindsets, looking internally. I think one way that I have found to be very helpful in the past is identifying what the lie is and then replacing that with what the truth is. Because you can't.
I love that. That is amazing. That is amazing. When I do the subtitles, I'm going to maximize that line. I'm going to maximize it.
You can't believe the truth and the lie at the same time. It's just not possible. So if you, in my brain, well, this is actually, this sentence is actually something that I've read. Real fraudsters, people who are in positions of authority in a company, in life, do not even acknowledge themselves as frauds. So why should you, if you're not even a fraud? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
The real fraudsters ain't worried about being frauds. So don't break your back.
It's so true. It's so true. People that were born into certain positions. People that, you know,
Yeah.
getting that position is as easy as, you know, buying a Tesco meal deal. For them, they've never doubted themselves. Even if they're not qualified, it doesn't matter. I'm here. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying we're like them. I just think that's a very good thing to, that self-confidence is something that should be borrowed and adopted, because the fact that you have probably done more and you're maybe even overqualified for the position, but because maybe you don't look like them, or maybe because you came through in a different way, you're feeling all of this doubt and self-fear. It's so hypocritical. Is that the right word?
For what?
It's like absurd that you know, the fraudsters are not scared of being found out as fraudsters, but you are, and you've done a lot of work to get to that position. So yeah, maybe hypocritical isn't the right word, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. We get it.
Yeah. Don't even feel like therapy is a solution for a problem. I feel like it should be running simultaneously with your apprenticeship and with adulthood and with
life,
constantly developing in life, honestly, because it's so much better to be proactive and to have someone to talk to that's qualified to listen and give you strategies, rather than waiting until you're on the brink of burnout, or, you know, waiting until the impact of depression or anxiety and all of these horrible things has hit you, and then you're reaching out in a sort of reactive way. Like, reactive versus proactive. I think therapy is a must for all of us. So yeah, that's really good advice.
And I think the last thing that I'm going to say about the overcoming section is just increasing your self-awareness. The reason why you like pass these tests, whether you studied at the last minute or a week in advance or 3 months in advance, is because you've done some work, whether it's a lot based on, I think it's the whole thing of like, you're comparing the amount of preparation you've done with what somebody else has done, and you think that it's just luck because you spent 2 hours when it's taken somebody else like 3 weeks to get to the same point. When you put some work in and you've gotten results, whether it's proportional or not, doesn't make the achievement less. The fact of the matter is, sometimes it takes some people an hour to do things, and it takes some people 3 hours to do things. So not to like say it's just luck or it just happened I just happened to get this apprenticeship because I happened to learn this one thing like 2 seconds before the exam. No, you actually did the work. Like, that's the work. And then also just like implementing boundaries and understanding and being aware of when things are being crossed, i.e. not taking on too much work.
That is a whole episode. Boundaries.
As an apprentice.
Boundaries. Yeah, definitely. Great. Okay. Yeah. So we're going to move on to our, what do we call it? Q&A? Yeah.
Or fictitious
scenario. Fictitious scenario. Should I give it a read, or do you want to?
No, please read it. But before that, I will say, if you guys have any scenarios or questions or queries that you want us to answer, please send an email to apprenticeish@gmail.com, and the thing is on screen as well. Yeah,
cool. Okay, so Emma, a 20-year-old architecture degree apprentice, joined a well-known firm. Despite her talent, she constantly doubted her abilities. In team meetings, she rarely spoke up, fearing her ideas would expose her perceived incompetence. When tasked with researching sustainable materials for a project, Emma worked overtime, convinced her regular efforts weren't enough. Even after receiving praise for her thorough work, she attributed it to luck rather than skill. As weeks passed, Emma's anxiety grew, affecting both her job performance and her studies. She continued to struggle with self-doubt, unsure how to view herself as a valuable team member.
I think we've addressed so much of that already.
Pretty much.
In terms of, overcoming. It may even be worth, honestly, at this stage, to recommend her getting a mentor. Because that might be, it's sometimes really helpful to have somebody who's older than you directing, or just more experienced than you, helping you to like navigate and understand like kind of what's normal, what's not. This is a new environment, a new team, a new, situation. So sometimes in that uncertainty, that's really good for where like a mentor can pour into you.
Yeah, it's a perfect time to get one.
Yeah.
I even got one last week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got a new mentor, and I'm so excited about her.
She's excited about you as well.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be a really fruitful relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's somebody that I can speak to without thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want the company to think that, you know, and take what I've said and just drag it to the next. Do you know what I mean? And jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
So Emma, please get a mentor.
Yeah.
Connect with people, join networks, surround yourself with people that are working at your level as well. Because, you know, similar people that are experiencing the same things as you, it gives you that validation. 100%. But as I was reading the scenario, the most powerful word for me was perceived, because that's what it is. It's just a perception. Yeah. It's not facts. I think this episode has covered why it's in your head and not real very well, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Lovely.
Cool.
On to the golden nugget,
which I don't have.
Can I go first then?
Yeah, I just want to get rid of this. Oh, as soon as I said it left.
This.
Oh.
Like,
you move my.
That's fine.
Okay.
So I would say my golden nugget with or for this episode, I wish I could recommend a book. But
Do it.
I don't have a book.
Oh.
To recommend. Yeah.
Okay.
I think take some time to get to know yourself. I think having self-assuredness and understanding who you are will help with that thing of like, I'm not good enough. It's usually to do with a lack of identity. You don't know who you are. Lack of self-esteem. You obviously think you're not good enough, but that's all because you don't know who you are. Do you get what I mean? And if you do, like, everyone has flaws. These are things that can be worked on, but they're not big enough to blank out the rest of your good character traits. Nobody in the workplace is perfect. So yeah, nobody in the workplace is perfect. So all these people you're looking up to, they're also in some kind of way problematic. And that's completely fine. You know, we're all learning, we're all growing. So just take one day at a time and don't put too much pressure on yourself as someone who's starting a new role with new responsibilities in usually a new company. So yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I wish I had this. Yeah.
Okay, good, because I was definitely going to say pray.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So my golden nugget is by faith. You know, we're women of God, so this might not apply to all of you, but faith in your belief system, faith in yourself, it is very, very important. When on the days that you wake up and you're not confident or you feel a bit empty, it's your faith, it's praying, it's the word, it's all these things that fill you up and that restore you, that you can rely on when you can't rely on yourself. And so yeah, faith is so powerful because it's believing without seeing, and it will restore your confidence. It will make you walk into a room with your shoulders back and your head held high, and it's honestly one of the most powerful things I think exists. So yeah, it doesn't hold like imposter syndrome where who, do you know what I mean? So yeah, for working on your faith, I think that is the best thing I can say when it comes to overcoming imposter syndrome.
I agree. Yeah, prayer works, guys.
It really does.
Okay, well, thank you so much for watching this episode. We hope you had a good time over here. Be sure to follow us on social media. All of the links will be down in the description below. Also, obviously on LinkedIn. Yeah. And I believe that's it. If you guys have any questions, queries, comments, or anything, please send an email. Also, subscribe, because 91% of people on YouTube are unsubscribed.
Shocking. So shocking. It's very cheeky. that you wouldn't, engage with us because we're so friendly and we're so nice.
People are very quick to DM.
Oh,
and the comment section is a tumbleweed.
Yeah,
but the DMs are there.
That's an episode in itself. Praising in public, praising in private, silent in public. Yeah, guys, come on now. Come on.
Anyway, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, see you next week, guys. Bye.